Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning into our channel again, Big Toe Bushcraft, Wild Foraging and Identification. I'm Tori Clark and little dog's just down here out of the picture. It's May 2023. Spring has sprung, the grass is riz. I wonder where the flowers is. Well, come for a walk with me and we'll find out. Not much going on today. So I am going to lay in a field of lawn daisies. Bellis perennis. These cute little guys. So the word daisy comes from day's eye, meaning it's open in the daytime and closed at night. So it's edible, the flowers, the leaves, all the way up, the buds. I've seen them take the petals and put them into cookies. And these are related to the aster. Unlike the ox-eye daisy, which is related to the dandelion. And funnily enough, we have one trying to grow right here. And the sunflower. But yeah, these will brighten up a salad, and let's find out what they taste like. Not really strong. Very, very mild flavor of vegetation. However, they have different minerals in them. So they have a little bit of calcium and they have a little bit of phosphorus, a little bit of magnesium, but always nice to put in a salad because it just, appearance is everything. Of course you wouldn't know that by looking at me. And why would you lay in a field of daisies when you can plunk your butt down on a nice, soft, mossy patch amidst a big flush of Tori's blue-eyed Marys? Colentia torii. These little beauties. Absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, it has an E in the name, but close enough for jazz. I will take it. Here's a beautiful little flush of fairy slippers, Calypso bulbosa. Growing up, I was always told that they were lady slippers. And then upon investigating, no lady slippers looked anything like these. I found out they were actually fairy slippers. They are related to orchids. They have 3 sepals and 3 petals. And you'll see that one sepal points straight directly up, and the other 2 go off to the side. So the sepals are what covers and encloses the flower before it opens. Now over time, over centuries, a couple of these petals fused and formed what they call the labellum, which is the little slipper part. And the edge of this up here is waxy. And so like the Hymenoptera or Diptera, like the Hymenopteras or the bees, the wasps, ants, Diptera, the flies, they land on here because they smell the nectar, and they slip into the little slipper, pun intended. Now there's little hairs inside, and the only way to get out of the slipper is to follow this little path of hairs. which takes them right up past the stigma with all the pollen. So then they finally make their way out of that little hole, go find another flower, maybe this one right next to it, and pollinate it. Are they edible? The bulbs are. I don't know about the top, but I mean, they grow pretty much individually. Finding a flush of these 10 or so is quite a fluke. Now, many, many years ago, the First Nations women believed that eating the bulbs raw would increase their breast size. They were usually cooked because it brought out the flavors and the caramelization due to the fructose in them. But yeah, just a little sweetie pie in the sunshine. And apparently there are variants. You've got the pink to purple on the right, and this one's almost white. Such a pale pink. Very cool. Beautiful. So this was the lucky shot. Bald eagle. Haliaeetus leucocephalus. Just hanging out in the tree. Hopefully looking for rabbits and not little dogs. And there he goes. Off to find a new roost. And here we have a nice flush of Siberian miner's lettuce, Claytonia siberica. Now, unlike the Claytonia perfoliata, the regular miner's lettuce, which has the kind of disc-shaped leaf that completely surrounds the stalk, this has opposite leaves, and the flower, if we can get in close enough or get a good shot, has 2 to 3 little purple stripes down the full length of each petal. And the petals are split, so it looks like it's got 10 petals, but it's only got 5. So the flower and the leaves they kind of taste like grass. My favorite part is the stalk. It's juicy and it's kind of sweet. Really, really nice. But yeah, this is a big flush of them, so I think I'm going to harvest a few, take them back for my salad. Benefits they have: vitamin A, vitamin C, they've got calcium, they've got magnesium, and lots of iron. So all around good. Okay, I've got to do this really quickly so little dog doesn't find it. In the grass, there's a little baby deer. Just laying there, hiding from us. We're going to leave it alone. Bye, baby deer. You have a good sleep. And this guy just cropped up in the last couple days. This is the death camas, Toxicoscordium venenosum. And it could be Toxicoscordium venenosum. Either way, it doesn't sound like a very good plant, having toxic in the first name. So you'll notice the flowers are different from the camas, and I will be showing you an example of a camas next to this one once I go and find my flush, which is just over the hill. So these guys, the difference, or one of the differences, is the stalk is segmented, whereas the true camas, wild onion, has one straight stalk and it's not segmented like that. And the leaves on the death camas are in the shape of a V, if you look at them. Now this is the natural way it grows. The camas is more on a plane and does not have that V. It is slightly U'd, but not the acute V shape here, as you can, if this cooperate. So yeah, it has a bulb, and just like the camas, one of the things you will notice when you dig up a death camas bulb, it does not smell like onion. So like I say, I will go and get an example of the camas, and we'll dig one of each up and put them side by side. And this is the true camas, Camassia lindi. So you can see that the flowers are quite different, and you can, I showed you the end of the leaf, and here is the camas leaf, which is not V, it's more of a U, and it has this lateral vein going all the way down the leaf, whereas the death camas does not. So I'm going to dig up one of these, and I will show you an example of them side by side. So you can see the difference in the flower. It's a large difference. But before it flowers, it's very hard to tell the difference between the camas and the death camas. So as I said earlier, the death camas will be segmented, as this is here, and the camas has one tall, long stalk. And again, the leaves are a V shape on the camas and do not have this really large lateral vein going up the middle of it, whereas the camas do have a very large vein going right up the middle of it. And when you look down on it, it's actually U-shaped, not V. This one's a little bit distorted. Let me pinch off a piece further down and give you an example. There you go. So it's more of a U, and it has this, again, this lateral vein going right down it. The bulbs are very similar. To look at the two of them side by side, if you were just looking at the base of them, you wouldn't know the difference. Also, the death camas is in the lily family, and the camas which was in the lily family until they did some DNA testing, and now is in the family Asparagaceae, so it's in the asparagus family. The bulbs are very starchy on the camas, and they need long cookings. With my bestest Englishes. And once they have cooked for a good long time, the starches start to break down, and then they start to caramelize. And who doesn't like caramelized onions? Especially of the wild variety. So there we have it. The death camas next to the camas. Both beautiful. One's edible, one is not. And this little lovely, hiding behind this log, is the trillium. Trillium ovadum. Trillium means three-parted lily. And it has, when they say three-parted lily, you'll see that they have three leaves, they have three sepals, these green, that encase the flower before it opens, and three petals. It is edible, but usually only for medicinal purposes, and it's used as an antiseptic and a diuretic. But nobody's going around and plucking them and putting them in their salad. Now, some provinces, it is illegal to pick these. I never do because there's not a lot of them around, but we're in BC. So it's protected in Ontario and I believe one or two other provinces. But they're not endangered here yet. So let's keep it that way. The beautiful trillium. here we have one of our common wild roses, Rosa acicularis. Now these flowers will turn into rose hips, which at the end of the season, say October, November, and then all the way through the winter, the rose hips are sitting there, nice and orange, and eventually they will start to go brown and drop, and because they're very prolific, so these grow everywhere. They have antiseptic qualities to the flower and the plant itself, and if you have a little wound, you don't have any band-aids, you can plunk off one of these petals, lick it, and put it on your wound, and it will help keep the microbes away. Some, anyways. Better than being just open wound. It's just growing right beside this sword fern. Big old sword fern, Polystichum manatum. And you're hearing the ravens in the background. There's a rookery just through the trees here. Way over though. And they get pretty noisy whenever an eagle or a hawk starts flying by. So right beside we have the ocean spray, or Holodiscus discolor. Discolor because their flowers, which this will turn into a big plume of white flowers, and they only last a very short time, and they will eventually turn into, come on, they turn brown, and they turn out like this. So, when you see them, this guy becomes this guy. Holodiscus discolor. Very good, strong fibers in it. It's also known as ironwood. So, you know, bushcraft, you'll be wanting that for anything that you might be weaving that you need some strength to or whatever. And it is very prolific here in the Pacific Northwest. It grows everywhere. The ocean spray, also known as ironwood, also known as Holodiscus discolor. Here's an example of the actual rose hips that are just starting to form. These guys will turn orange end of summer, beginning of fall there, and they make great tea. And before they fall off, they kind of look like that. These guys didn't make it onto the ground yet, these last years. But, well, let's assist it to the ground with some gravity. There you go. But yeah, each flower will form one of these rose hips. And you've probably heard of buying rose hip tea in the store or whatnot. This is wild rose hip. Excellent, excellent resource. Full of vitamin C too. And although this is a very beautiful plant, it is highly invasive. This is the Scotch broom, or Ctesis scoparius. Is it edible? No. It has alkaloids in it. One of them is cysteine. And that can depress your heart rate and your nervous system as well. It's got a scent to it, not the flowers, but the plant itself, and it deters insects and deer, or at least animals that are going to try eating it. The one insect it does not deter is aphids, of course. You know, they're a great little bug. So these flowers will turn into bean pods, and I don't see any forming yet. Oh, here we go. So here's a couple of the bean pods there, kind of starting to go black already. And those, in the heat of the sun, when they dry out, you hear the snapping in the bush, and it's those, and they fire out the seeds. And so a lot of different plants have like different ways of sending their seeds out. You know, you got the hitchhiker seeds, like say the cleavers. You know, they cling onto your pants. Then you got the wind-borne ones, which are like the dandelion and the thistles. And then you had these guys. They're kind of like spring-loaded seeds, as they were. So the Scotch broom comes in two variants. So we've got the yellow, and right beside it we have this red variant. It's quite beautiful. More so than the yellow, I believe. So I think you could probably extract dyes from this plant, and for like dyeing textiles and fabrics and whatnot. But other than that, you know, don't go trying to eat it. Not a good one. The common dandelion, Taraxacum officinale. This is a great little plant. I know everybody thinks of them as weeds, just because they're so prolific. They're not even native to here. They were brought over by the settlers, and reason being is they did not know, coming over here, what wild plants were edible, and they knew every part of this plant was. It's related to the sunflower, and this is a young one, and so you can see the leaves are lobed and kind of toothed. And they come out of their little basal rosette at the base of the flower stalk. And when they're really young like this, they're really tasty in a salad. And they've got, you know, vitamin C, they've got vitamin A, a bunch of other elements and whatnot, minerals. But they are loaded with polyphenols, which aids in reducing your chances of heart disease and some cancers. Now the head, or the flower head, actually has 115% more polyphenols than the rest of the plant. These are really nice. I like to put them in a salad. You can put them in ice cubes for a drink in the summertime and whatnot. Really nice. Like I said, these are great in salads. Their stalk, well, it's a hollow tube, and it goes all the way down with no branching at all on the stalk. Okay, so it's going to have one flower, one stalk. They'll have multiple flowers, but each one will have their own individual stalk. But their stalks are hollow, but this one's got the milky latex kind of coming out of it. Squeeze a little bit more out, you can see it. Go a little further back. And this is kind of bitterish, but yeah, you can see it coming out the end there. So not as palatable as the rest of the plant. However, the leaves are wonderful, the flower heads are wonderful. Sepals can be a bit bitter, the green part, and the roots. You can dry roast them and grind them up and make them into coffee, like an alternative. It's not related to the coffee plant and it has no caffeine, but flavorful nonetheless. And these beautiful flowers are called woolly sunflowers, or Oregon sunshine. Their Latin name is Eriophyllum lanatum. And this is the only patch that I have seen on this bottom chunk of property. Lovely, lovely flowers. What a bright yellow. Here we have a nice flush of fawn lilies. Erythronium organum. And very much like your lilies in your garden, only very dainty, thin stalk. They have a mottled leaf, and the dark spots are phosphorus. They have a strong concentration of phosphorus in their leaves. But yeah, just a sweetie little plant. They're edible, but why would you want to eat something like that? You know, they're very delicate. You know, you try and transplant them, you're going to kill them. You pick them, you're probably going to kill them. I like to leave them because they're just so beautiful. Erythronium oregonum, the fawn lily. Our local quail, which we call bush chickens. California quail, Calipopella californica. They're quick. And there's Mummy. Now that little plume off the top of his head looks like one feather, but it's actually 6 little feathers. What the purpose of it is, I don't really know. They're probably sitting on babies right now. Finally, those ravens have stopped chattering. Those are the northern ravens. Corvus corax is their genus and species name, subspecies principalis. Either way, I hope you enjoyed today's journey and will be joining us for our next one, which will be taking place up on the ridge. Anyways, take care, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.